How are you?
Good. How was everybody?
Good.
Sally, how was your trip?
It was great.
Good.
Got home late last night. You?
Excellent. We got home late Sunday afternoon. So
Nice.
Where'd you go, Jim?
I went to Charleston, South Carolina.
Nice. How about
Yeah.
you, Steve? Where'd you go?
I went to Amelia Island, which is out east of Jacksonville.
Awesome.
Yes. Anybody else?
What was the question?
Where did anybody go away for the weekend?
Ah, I actually, in a way, I was stuck. Actually, it was Monday and not the weekend. We had so much rain at our place up in Maine that out of my driveway, I couldn't go north because the road was flooded, and I couldn't go south because the bridge was closed because the water was so high. So there was like, what is there? 4 families that were stuck all day Monday, couldn't go anywhere during the flash flood.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Not cool. Do we expect Doug?
I didn't hear either way. So,
I should clarify, Doug Butler.
Doug Butler, I didn't hear either way. But I did make you co-host, Dan, so you can share whatever you need to share.
Okay, thanks. You want to give him a minute?
Sure. Traffic was awful tonight. I can tell you that for $1.
Let me check and see if I can see whether he said anything. I can't see.
Oh, Andy, be quiet. Have to put a muzzle on the dog. We're babysitting the black lab again. Have you heard? I still don't see him.
Yeah, I got no text or anything from him, so get going if you'd like, I guess.
Sure. So last week, was it Monday? Steve, Kevin, and I spent a bunch of times trying to figure out how to get out of the mess I think we're in for not this particular year, but beyond this year. And so it made a lot of sense to have a session with the finance subcommittee forecasting group as I'm trying to get my hands around it, and we're looking for ideas on how to deal with it. So the bottom line is, based on my best estimates, we're going to run out of money in 26 or maybe 27. And maybe what I'll do is start out by sharing with you where I started is with the school budget. And Doug Lyons, I'm glad you're on this call or the Zoom session. So you can please tell me where I'm wrong, because I hope I'm wrong. Steve and Kevin haven't been able to find any spots where I'm wrong, so maybe you can. So I'm going to start with the share screen of the school analysis. And hopefully everybody can see this. Are we good? Everybody see it?
Yeah,
Great. So
big enough.
Big
I
enough.
think.
I can make it bigger. Yeah, one more bigger. How's that?
There you go.
So what I did was take the school budget from page 54 of the big book, and I broke down between personal services and everything else for a total. And then, and that is the same here. Those numbers didn't change. And then I have the offsets. So we got the circuit breaker grants. Then the adjustment being was $1,083,000, and now it's $1,583,000 for revolving accounts. Come back, ARPA 200,000, buses 115, total offense is 65, and total tax levy 49,590. So that's where we are at this moment. So then what I did is I looked at, well, what about 25 and 26? And the 5-year history of personal services has been 5.5% per year. And of course, that includes the current contract that runs out here in a month and a half. So it's got 3 years of the current contract and 2 years of the previous contract. So if I move personal services out at 5.5%, I get those two figures in 25 and 26. I really had no idea what to do for the other stuff. The contract is not a big piece, $9 million. So I decided just to be real conservative and just say 0.4. I mean, it may be more than that because of inflation, which if it is more than that, I'll just make things worse. So then we got new totals for 25 and 26 at 58.7 and 61.5.
Dan, what is the other?
The other is everything else other than personal services. So maintenance, books and media and everything else that's not salaries.
Okay.
So I have that that's going up 0.4, and those are the numbers. So then we end up at 58 and 61. So then on the circuit breaker, I increased that 3%. Just because I'm using a lot of stuff at 3% for the state and so forth. And so those numbers go up. Grants, I increased those at 3%. And then revolving, because revolving, you're taking 500,000 from Wakefield Academy, and other stuff is untouchable. I reduced that down to 1.38 million for 25 because you're taking so much out of the academy. And then I reduced it again to 1.2 just because it's going to get lower because everything else is untouchable. ARPA is done, so we have no money there. And you end up with 115 on buses again. And so these are the new offsets for 25 and 26. So using the offsets against the top line, I get 52.5 for 25 and 55.2 for 26. And those percentage increases are 582 and 5.2. So that's where that's coming from. The other thing I did on the side, just for curiosity, I said, what if the revolving accounts go back to their normal at 1083 for 2 years? And then the increases become 643, and then this one drops down to, call it 5%. And I ran some numbers using this alternative, and it really made no difference. I mean, in the long term, it made zero difference, nothing material anyway, I should say. So then, based on these numbers, what I did was look at free cash forecast. And we had, so much in free cash. We have stabilization fund, our budget, and we end up with 7.1, 5.4 on terms of our reserves against the budget. In terms of our policy is 10%. It was adopted by the finance committee and town selectmen. It was selectmen at the time, but town council continued. So I thought, okay, so that's my starting point. So then my first adjustment was to say, okay, Steve said we can get 600,000 from overlay, which has been agreed to. So we're getting that from free cash. I put in 500,000 that the schools are going to give back to the town for fiscal year 23, June 30, as a plug. And, and again, here, Doug, if you have a better idea of what you're going to be giving back to the town for 23, I'll make the appropriate changes.
So I think 5 is a number that is new to me. So,
oh no, I just made it up.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I've received no information as far as what the number might be, because when we asked the question at when you were before a finance committee, Christine said, well, we really don't know. We won't know for quite a while. And I said, okay, I get that. So I had to make something up.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep. Steve and Kevin are confident that we'll probably get $1 million back from the town. So I got that in there. And so when I ran the new numbers under free cash, you'll see we got 9%, which is closer to what I think what Kevin and Steve are thinking at end of 23. But then it goes down and we run out of money in 27. Okay, so that's the first adjustment. Then on top of that adjustment, I also went ahead and put the school budget at the 582 and 520 that we had up at the top. And I looked at what that does. And same number here for 23, but then you'll see for 24, it's the same number, but then in 25 and 26, obviously we drop down faster and still run out of money, this time in 26 versus 27. And then I did the alternative. And as I said before, it really made no difference. We still run out in 26 and 27 and we're in the soup. So that was the initial look-see as to what's going on. And this is before Steve, Kevin, and I got together Monday. So I'm going to stop sharing that and switch over to the forecast. So I bet this needs to be bigger. All right, so on the free cash side, oh, Indy, be quiet. My apologies for the dog. So so we had the 600,000 coming from overlay, 1 million from the town 500,000, I, again, made up number, from the schools. I put in, 2.1 million of free cash coming in during fiscal year 23 to get us up to 6.6 million of free cash. And you'll see in this case, run out of money in 1084. So the next thing we looked at was including money coming back from the town at $1 million a year into the future. And I have to remember where I put that.
I think it was in transfers, Dan, maybe, or results.
It may have been. That's not where I put it. Actually, I think what I ended up doing is taking it out and just putting it here.
I think that's what you did. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just put the million in here. That's what I did. So I just stuck it in there, run it all the way out to the future, and we run out of money in 27. So we end up running out in 27 if I bring in $1 million a year from the town. The overlay may be able to give us some more from time to time, and maybe we get some from other areas. But if we just run $1 million, we still run out. So that was looking at that aspect. Another important aspect of this is when I did my dog and pony show and figured out what the past increases have been, I realized that we have more problems than just the schools. So it's not just you, Doug. If I look at police, police has been running at roughly 4.3% per year. Fire has been running at 4.5 per year. And let's see, the other big library is only about 3%, so they're okay. The schools have been running, let's see, I went from here to here. It's averaging 4.6 per year. And let's see, the VOC, I should say something about the VOC. So the VOC has been pretty high, averaging about 4.8, but because the VOC is building a new school, I've loaded the VOC at 5.8 for 25 and 6% for 26 because we're going to be paying a lot more for bonds. For their bonding is going to kick in, and then I'm running it out at 4% thereafter. And I've also got the schools running out at about 4%. The only reason this is not exactly 4 is because of the bus fees, but about 4% going out. And let's see, the other big budget item, I think general government actually was higher than expected. Steve, that's been averaging 4.4.
What is that including? Because I'm looking at Board of Appeals and Planning Board.
Yeah, treasurer, data processing, selectmen, I still call them selectmen, accounting, treasurer, legal, collector, all the small budgets, well, not all of them, but most of them. So that's been running at 4.4 per year.
Okay,
So,
okay, 4.4, okay.
So our history, across the board in the big budgets has been running at roughly at 4%. But if I look at my forecast going out beyond 24, I mean, this is all at 3%, general, fire and police, C, library, schools at 4, articles I'm running at 3. Medicare I have higher because of the additional personal services budgets have been running higher, so I actually have that at 4. So I've got forecasts of 3 or 4% for going all the way out, but the actual increases have been much greater than that of late. And you can also see it here where I've got 4.9, 4.6, 4.7, and so forth. But on the income side, we're in the 3s. So across the board on our big budgets, we're outstripping our income. And if I go back to income, and say, well, Dan, what are you using for income? So I'm using 1.7 million for new construction here for fiscal year 24. If I get optimistic and say that's too low, we're going to get more from the power line, let's make that, I add 400,000 of that, which then gets carried over all the way into the future. We still are running deficits all the way through, and we still run out of cash. Well, we get real low. I'm not sure we run out. We may not run out if we get a higher number from the power line than we expect. I think we just hang in there at some small amounts, but nowhere near our policy. Our policy again is saying is 10%, and we're not close. I think I have that here. So here's our policy, roughly 9%, and then it shrinks down to roughly 4.6, 4.9. That's assuming we get $1 million every year from the town, and the power line comes in higher than what we expect. And I bet we haven't heard from Victor, have we?
No.
Yeah. So that's the dilemma we're in. We're spending like a bunch of drunken sailors, and the income's not keeping up.
And the income, did you add in the latest Steve, the cherry sheet you sent, was that the latest or the older one?
That was the latest, but the Senate Ways and Means presented their budget today, which seems on the pros, I don't have Wakefield's numbers yet, seems to add a little bit additional to that, but I'm not going to know that till later this week. Maybe I'll know tonight.
When you say a little, I talk about 100,000, 200,000.
Yeah, I'm saying, and 3.9 there. They increased the minimum aid per student, increase in chapter 70 from $30 per student to $60. That may help us a little bit there. They also increased charter school reimbursement. That may help us a little bit there. But I can never tell until I see that cherry sheet come out, because
Right.
you always got to go to page 2.
Right.
Where they give it to you on page 1 and take it away on page 2.
Yeah.
Yes, the front page news was the new millionaires tax is earmarked for schools and roads, and they're earmarking it for 2-year college being free for everyone.
Yeah, but they also that might have been that funding, but they also looked at some other areas. When the MMA sent out I'll forward it to you guys what the MMA sent out tonight after this meeting. You can take a look at it.
So in terms of the public school piece or the impact on public schools, we're hearing from the State House and from our local association that the majority of that money is going to higher ed
Yeah.
and will not be coming this fiscal year and will not impact schools at all.
Oh, wow.
That's a
That's what
great
the
sales
millionaires-
pitch, huh?
that's
Vote
the
for
millionaires-
it, will help the schools out.
Is that the millionaires money, Doug?
Yeah. Yeah.
Doug, is that the millionaires money they're talking about? Millionaires
Yes,
tax?
sir. Yes.
Because in the pros that I send out, they do talk about increasing chapter 70 and unrestricted. Separate.
Right. So chapter 70 is looking like it's going to come in over like 700,000 over what we had last year.
Right, but it
which
may
will-
be even more than that. It may be more.
I hope that it's more, but I think, Dan, you'll be happy to know that I'm a conservative forecaster myself. I'm curious on the percentages, Dan, for school.
Yeah.
So on the school side, when you're projecting, for FY 24-25, so for 24, we're below 5. For
24, yeah. For 24, yes.
we're below 24. 23, we were below 5. 24, we're below 5.
23, or I have it right at 5 for 23.
Okay, so it just doesn't. So in terms of the 5.9 for 25 and 5.0 for 26, It's
Yeah,
just-
and the reason for that, the only reason for that is the temporary nature of ARPA and the revolving account pieces. So
Got it.
if you can get ARPA to keep going, then you'll be back, you know, yeah. And
Yeah,
if-
no, I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this isn't just tax levy that when Dan does this. Dan, can I ask you to go back to returns from the town? Because I'm gonna
Return?
make, to go back, we, where you can show where you put what the town returns or
Oh,
exceed.
okay, yeah,
revenue.
but one last point before we do that, I still have snow and ice overdraft at 0, so we can't have any foul weather for the next 5
Yes.
years.
Well, this year we're good, I think. No, it's still.
Oh, yeah, we've been, are you kidding?
done
We've
better
been
than
good. We've been good for, since 2020. We've been
Yeah.
good. We've been very fortunate.
Don't.
Okay. All right, so, okay, what do you want to do with $1 million?
So I think my feeling, well, let's start where, and Kevin's gonna be mad at me, but that's okay. Let's start where we're gonna end, close out fiscal year 23. I'm gonna make a prediction today. Go down to, I'm gonna make a prediction that our free cash at the end of fiscal year 23 is gonna be 7 million. Kevin, are you crying over there? I'm gonna put you on so I can see you.
Well, that's only another 380,000.
Yeah,
That's okay.
7 million's possible.
Okay.
So wait a second, Steve
Oh.
and Kevin, in your prediction, how much are you assuming the schools are gonna give back?
I had 4.
4?
400, yeah.
Yeah. So Steve, I thought the GIC was giving back 800 this year.
Yeah, that's included in that figure.
That's in the
Oh.
2,100.
That's in the 2,100, yeah. And there's other, that's not the only budget that we feel will return at this point. So I'm gonna say, just for the sake of my sanity or satisfaction, will you make that 2.4
Okay,
on right there, 2.4,
got it.
okay? And
Yep.
then I think that between all the other items, I think returning $1 million every year is probably on the low side. Kevin, are you gonna turn white as well on this, or are you okay?
Well, what happens is we keep, the main budget that turns back is the
Healthcare.
healthcare. And each year we start squeezing it. So the more you squeeze the budgets, the less you're gonna receive it as revisions at the end of the year.
All right, so can I ask a question between these? All right, I'm gonna say $1 million returned is on the low side historically.
So you want to make it 1.5, 1.6?
Let's see what 1.5 says, since we're all playing games, right?
Well, we're not playing games, we're playing what if,
We're playing what if. So let's carry that out,
okay?
okay? And my third question is, Dan, in your projection on the healthcare, since Don brought it up, are we going forward with what we think will be a revaluation of OPEB? Or are you
I'm still running 1.4 million.
Okay, I think Kevin feels pretty, so why don't we keep that in there for now? Let's keep it in there for now. That'll be a pleasant surprise. I think we feel the next evaluation might drop that a little bit, right, Kevin?
Depending on what the market does for the rest of this fiscal year.
Okay.
Yeah, so for going out beyond 24, I'm using medical insurance at 4%, which is actually a little bit lower than what many actuaries use in a long-term forecast.
Okay.
But that's top line healthcare is higher than that, but plan sponsors are making adjustments to minimize that increase. So increasing co-pays, dropping expensive plans. They're doing a number of different things to keep that inflation rate low for the sponsor, which means employees and retirees are paying more in most cases. So I'm using 4%.
Okay, that's fine.
But, you know, it may be a little bit lower than that. It may be higher than that. Depends on what modifications you get through PEC.
Right. Right. Okay,
And that's an
What-
OPEB re-eval, so you would be able to commit less, Steve? Is that what you're implying?
yeah, I think what
Yeah.
we're thinking, yeah, when they, when they give us, what do they do it every 2 or 3 years, Kevin, or every?
Every 2 years.
Right,
The
yeah.
only concern there, Steve, is that when they calculate the discount rate,
Yeah.
there's always the pressure that they want to keep decreasing it.
Right.
I think the last valuation we had done, they were using
7.
7%. And, you know, I had to talk till I was blue in the face for them to keep it at 7. You know, they wanted to drop it to 6.8. Dan, we see this all the time with retirement, that and on this next valuation, if they decrease that discount rate, that I'm not sure what type of savings, if any, we'd probably realize. If they left it at 7, we probably would realize something.
Yeah. So, I mean, the 1.4, you know, we're 38% funded, I think, is where we're at now.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a spot, the 1.4 is a spot where we could decrease that. And, you know, it really wouldn't hurt us. We just
Right.
take longer to get the plan funded. But, you know, the downside risk of everything I'm throwing out here is more than just the fact that we're going to be lower our reserves, and we're going to be not following policy, but we're about to go out for bids on our new high school and those bonds, and not having a AAA rating would be a serious cost that I don't want to even think about.
But if you run that 1.5 out, Dan, that you just put in,
I did.
can we see the results of that?
Oh, if you insist. So we dropped down to around 7% versus 10, and our free cash hangs in around 5.5, 5.4, 5.8. So, you know, we survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of think that's a little bit more of a likely scenario, but we still have to be very
It's
vigilant.
wishful thinking, you know, but a lot of it's wishful thinking.
Well, I don't know. I think there's a historical precedent for it. If you go back.
Oh, yeah, if I look at, I only have 3 years worth, but the net change in free cash at the end of the year, you know, 2.5, 1.2, 2 million. So, you know, the 2.4 is not outrageous.
Right.
But again, it does include, you know, a significant portion coming back from the schools and healthcare and overlay, and well, overlay we know,
Right.
but the rest of them too.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. The healthcare should decrease over time, Dawn, is that right? The return?
I would expect that it would, yeah. So,
But
I
that's
mean,
not been the case.
I think 800,000 this year was, you know, was
High watermark.
yeah, definitely.
Right. And then the you know, the OPEB, if you drop that 400,000, that isn't even really materially substantial, is it? Not that you're doing that.
Well,
but-
over time it is, yeah.
Well, yeah. But there's no silver lining with that, really, other
Right.
than over time, correct?
Yeah. Oh, and the only other thing that's in here that's a best guess, I should mention, is local receipts. I'm still using 8.5 million for 24. And our still prediction for 23 is roughly 8.2 million. And I don't know if Kevin has anything more current on what he thinks local receipts might be at the end of this year.
Right now, on my number, if everything keeps going the way it has, it may be north of 1.5 million.
You mean, I'm talking about 8.2.
Oh, you're talking 8.2. I think I had 7. It may be 300,000 above that.
So it might be
300,000 above your 8.2.
Yeah.
above the 8.8.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great if it is. That would be great. And the other observation I had, this came from the retirement side, is that a couple of years ago, we had about 448, I think 450 employees in the retirement system active. And now we're at 480. I mean, we've added 36 positions in the last 2 years.
Does that sound unreasonable to you, Dan, both from an actuarial point and from a statistical point with certain age classes retiring, like sort of normal, but a spike normal?
I think it's abnormal.
Okay.
Because I do a lot of, I mean, most cities and towns have got a very, very steady population of active employees if you're inside of 128. Where I see big increases, for example, Shrewsbury has been adding people because they've been growing like crazy. So you get outside of 495 and I see growth in active employment because there's just higher population, people are moving out there, so forth. But
Okay.
inside of 128, I just don't see much of a change in the number of people. A lot of cities and towns have to add some additional people, for example, dealing with things like we brought in a greeter, right, for the COVID.
Yeah, but
So you see a little bit of that. But if they hang on, then, you know, how are you going to come up with the money that ARPA's been covering in the past?
what I mean to say though is yeah, exactly, with the one-time payments. But I mean, when people live longer, isn't that expected to increase your list, your people?
No, I'm looking at active employees, not total population.
I'm sorry. I thought this was retired population.
No, just actives.
Just active.
We've added 36 positions in 2 years.
Really?
And that doesn't include teachers, because teachers are not in our retirement system. They have a state program. So
That's right.
we've added 36 full-time positions.
That
And
doesn't make sense.
I'm just
I
telling
would have
you,
been jumping out. I would have been jumping out the first floor window at town hall.
while you still have an
Complaining about
opportunity,
FTEs.
we have it. So
I understand. I'm not disputing your math. I just don't see it mentally thinking about it. Anyway.
I get that. Just bear with me for a second, because
Yeah.
I don't want to mislead anybody in terms of what I'm talking about. I just have to pull up the finance committee. I'm sorry, the retirement budget for this year, because in that budget we have a history of people. Retirement. There we go, retirement. And now I'm going to do the share screen and hopefully this will come up. Where's my retirement? I think this is retirement.
When you say not including teachers, do people other than teachers end up on the town retirement list?
Yeah, school employees like custodians and aides that are not teachers are on the Wakefield retirement system. Yeah.
I mean, Doug Lyons and staff are on Wakefield retirement. Is that right?
If they're not a teacher, that's correct.
Okay, just curious.
Now, administrators, Doug Lyons is not on town retirement. I'm on MTRS.
Yeah.
As well as a principal?
Correct.
Yeah. Principal would qualify as, yeah.
But that's not on your list, Dan. Doug and the principals are not on the list.
Correct. I'm just saying non-teachers.
Got it.
So,
Custodian.
yeah. So, can you guys see that?
Can't read that, no.
How about now?
More better.
Mo better?
Nope, that was good before. Okay, so you're saying active employees are 480 now?
Yeah, as of December 31st,
And it was 463 in 2018?
right, and 454 and 20.
454 and 20.
Well, didn't the schools
36.
add 13 FTEs last year?
I think that was the year before for COVID, and I think we cut 8 of those or 9 of those. Kevin,
Okay,
So we're 17 above 2018. If my math is correct, 17 employees.
Yeah, from looking at 18, yeah.
Okay.
And we had, 457 and 19. And if memory serves, if you look back even, further back, I think we were in the 450, 460 range for most of time.
All right.
So, I mean,
So-
and that's consistent with, the fact that fire, police, school, personal services budgets have been going up, 4.5%, 5%, 5.5%. It's because we're adding people.
If you didn't add people, your budget would still go up by a certain percentage to cover their retirement, correct?
No, retirement's prepaid.
Doug Lyons, did you say something? I didn't hear you if you did.
no, I was just, no.
Okay,
So,
sorry.
I mean, and the other thing about adding people, personal service is one thing, but we also have the Medicare tax, the 1.45% that we pay on that amount. And healthcare, I mean, there's all the other benefits go up commensurate with the addition of people.
Well, I
Yeah,
will
no.
say the greeters were both part-time and not benefit eligible.
What about this? Is the light department in this number?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And they get charged back for that.
Yeah, we charge back the light department.
So is that not affecting these numbers?
I don't know how many people light department has added.
If they did, it would be an increase. It would be part of these numbers, is my.
Yeah, they're in this, they're part of the
Yeah.
480.
Got it.
As is water and
Is there,
sewer.
is there a way to
I-
break
yeah.
that down, Dan, by light department, municipal, and then schools?
Yeah, I have that. I can, between me and Kathy, we can come up with a by department.
All right. I mean, my takeaway talking to Dan about this at some other point was sort of the same thing he said, where I sincerely feel like we have a spending problem, and not so much a revenue problem. And it's going to be very difficult for all of us to get to a point where we have to do something other than sort of what we've been doing and balance the budget somehow. When there's no money to balance it, you know how that's going to go. So I don't think we can stress it enough that it's just very concerning. And, we review the budgets, we make discussions, and we approve the budgets. We know that. But at the same time, again, I don't know, somebody texted me, one of the guys on the board, and Hingham was looking at having to cut a certain number of heads or something. There's just some stuff going on around the state. I don't know if you've seen it, but anyway.
I saw that, or they were gonna do an override.
Yeah, can you imagine trying to do an override for operations in this town?
Hingham just did it,
In lieu of cutting heads?
right. They were gonna cut 46 teachers, I read. But
Jesus.
they passed an $8 million override to cover not just the schools, but other budgets as well. They had a shortfall of $8 million. And the override passed like 670 to 30 or something like that.
Excellent.
Wow.
Maybe there's nothing to worry about. We'll still just have a spending problem. Jesus.
Hey, I think Kevin has his hand up. Dan.
yeah, I just had a quick question. Dan, what was your revenue number again? Was it 8.1 or 8.3?
For 23,
Yes,
8-1.
8167, call it 8.2.
okay. Because I'm looking at, I thought it was 7.2. My projected estimated receipts is 8,670,000. So it's gonna be about 500. I'm projecting an additional 500,000 there.
So let me put that in, 8,670,000.
Yep.
We should just adopt Dan's number from now on, Kevin. Hell with the DOR. We don't have to figure out what are we doing, what is he doing? It's too confusing for me.
Right.
Well, it certainly helps.
It certainly does.
So that's basically recovered from pre-COVID.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so now we're hanging in there, and just a little bit below our policy.
Yep,
And
Well,
our,
our policy is a range. It's our, we love 10% at least, but it's within the range of the policy.
correct. What is it, 7 to 10?
I think it's 2 to 8 total.
Right.
2 to 8? No, it's not
Isn't
that
it?
wide.
Well, it's,
Yeah,
I have it
yeah.
somewhere, but it'd take me too long to find it.
Andy, quiet. Andy agrees with me. She thinks it's not 2 to 8.
oh, okay. Then it mustn't.
Andy, quiet.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, my wife's not here to quiet the dog.
Right?
It's okay.
Well, it's a better looking story, at least in the short term here from the original start.
But I do think the message is we have to return as much as we can, and we have to ratchet down the spending side.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I go back up here
Right.
where I've got my forecast, it's probably too small for you guys to see.
There you go.
So I've got, for example, we've been spending at 4.4 per year the last 5 years on average on these major categories. I change this to 4.4. And then I'm not going to do the library because they've been pretty good. And I run that out. We don't look so hot. We run out of money in 31. So it's more than just, holding back on terms of the, 5% increases. We got to get closer down to, 3%. 4% is too high. If I look at even with the new numbers from Kevin, our revenue increases are roughly at 4.2%, but we've been spending at 4.4.
Yep.
So I mean, that's why I keep harping on the 4% as a target, and we've been exceeding it. Now you know why I've been harping on the 4%.
Right. So all things being equal, it feels like in the not too distant future, you'll be talking about trying to decrease budgets down to those numbers or pulling a rabbit out of your hat.
Yeah, basically. And
Don't we have 3 major groups in negotiations right now? So
Right.
whatever we end up with, we're gonna have to live with for 3 years.
yeah, pretty much. And to that point, thanks for bringing that up. I've taken both police and fire for 24 personal services. We voted and arbitrarily added 2.5% because we don't have contracts yet.
Right.
Right. So that's baked in, and the schools is baked in too.
Yep. And a regional voc is baked in.
Yeah.
But, without a substantial change in economic outlook and sentiment, every new contract is the new base.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, if you give them 5 this year, it doesn't mean they're gonna be starting at 5, 3 years from now, but the point is, you're all negotiating with people, you know how it's gonna work. It's not, they're not gonna show up with less just because they hear it on the news. But anyway.
Hmm.
People are trying to do the best they can. It's just, this is the reality of it, that, and the only pie that's substantial is personal services, across the board. So it's people.
It's people.
Yep.
Kevin, is your hand still up?
No.
Okay, I didn't want you to feel slighted.
He was getting tired though.
So this scenario here that you have, you made a couple of changes, Dan, can you go down to where this ends us up?
Yeah,
This, we kept the million, which I think is low, but that's okay with all the other stuff.
Yeah, and this is at the 4-4.
Yeah.
this is using the 4-4, yeah. So if I go back and undo that, make it go back to 3.
I don't think 3 is right though. I think you gotta go somewhere different than that. I think you're gonna go to 4.
Yeah.
Just to be a little more realistic based on contracts. I don't know.
I agree.
I don't disagree. So I go 4. And now go back to the totals. Yeah, we run out of money.
Right.
Right, but you're carrying the million, which I think is low on the, and you don't even put it in on fiscal year 32. So,
Well, looking at this, what does it look the next 3 years? Can you show me the 3 years, Dan, down the bottom?
Yeah,
for
yeah, 3 years.
Free cash? Yeah.
Yeah, free cash, 8 million. And then it slowly goes down.
So we hang in the policy though for 3 years. We're at that 9 mark and drop to 8.
Right, then 9, 2, and 25, 7, 8, and 26, and then on
Yeah.
down.
I feel a little better standing in front of a crowd talking about this.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
right, and I think that don't let them off the hook at the state either. Jim, did you ever get a response?
Yeah, no. So I sent an email to our state House reps, and I had talked to Wong a while ago, and I sent an email after we had the cherry sheet, and I said, hey, blah, 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 blah. We saw the increases. I'm town of Wakefield, chair of the finance committee. I'd like to talk to you about your your financial objectives as you make the budget. What do you see you need to put money? And we have concern at the local level. Crickets. A week ago. I got an auto reply from the young lady that said, send the email to somebody else, which I did. And crickets. So I just get back from vacation, but I plan on making phone calls one day this week. Today was a bit of a shit show at work, but anyway. Again, I've talked to Wong in the past, and I didn't send it to the senator because they really hadn't put a budget out yet. I was just trying to poke somebody, but I've got to show up at one of their face-to-face times, and I've been keeping an eye on that and haven't been able to make it. But anyway, that's what I got, Steve. You're right.
I was just wondering, but I do
Yeah,
think
it just frustrates me, because you guys talk about it, the MMA talks about it, the school people talk about it. I mean, for God's sakes, they're throwing $100 bills around like they're dimes. Let's focus. But anyway, off my soapbox. Anything else? What do you guys think?
I'm sending you guys all the latest that came out from the MMA, but it doesn't have it has a link to go quickly to get to our own cherry sheet, but it's
Right.
not updated yet. But it will be this week.
Yep.
I got Dawn, Dan, Kevin, Jim, Doug,
And Doug.
and Doug Butler and Doug Lyons.
And don't we have a little piece in legislation to stop giving money back to the taxpayers if there is something to give now or something? Didn't they change that little rule that pissed the house off?
Oh, I don't know about the refunds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were trying to change that loophole, but I don't.
I think they changed the threshold, Jim.
Yeah.
that triggers it. So,
And then they also changed it to a flat return. So not by what you gave.
correct.
So everybody, whether you gave or not, would get the same amount back. There's
Yes.
democracy at work.
Yeah. Hey, Dan, is this one that you have right now on the screen? Your
Yeah.
forecast? Can you send it to me so I can put it under my pillow? No, I'm being serious.
No, I want a copy too. I'm saving it. Are you kidding me? We got Doug Lyons in the room. You know, we're all in the boat together here.
Agree. Yeah, if I would love a copy of this.
Not a problem. I'll send it along. Oh, Doug, do you want a copy of that school analysis, the first thing I brought up?
Sure, that'd be great.
Because I'd love you to take a look at it and poke a hole in it.
Yep.
I think the other thing we talked about is that any grant, any revolving fund, was this in my 12 points of light? We're gonna
Right.
charge back everything. All of Benny's gotta be charged back to the grants and everything. And if that means, as the chairman of the FinCom said, hiring less people, that's what we do.
Yeah, I mean, you got to plan forward. It's just got to get tighter and as appropriate as it can. Yeah.
And it's gonna get worse before it gets better.
I agree.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I had like the school budget at about 6.5 offsets. I was doing some research on it a week or two ago.
Yep, 66509.
That's what I got. You know, and then we used ARPA. We used ARPA money for town council. We used ARPA money for the health services. We got an opioid settlement in health services. Fire department safer grant for 300,000. You know, and it all adds up to a whole bunch of money.
Right, it's all temporary and we shouldn't be using temporary money for operations.
Right. So.
And that's what you cautioned in your forward.
Yes, the forward is done. I'm gonna get that out to the rest of the finance committee, but basically saying the same thing. Yeah.
All right.
All right, I'm good, I think. Anybody else, comments, thoughts?
My only last question is, Dan, I know we put a lot on your shoulders, and maybe it was good it was rainy this weekend because you couldn't go anywhere and had to work. But if you send out the dog and pony stuff, I'll take a look at it as well.
I had it put together and I had an ending where I'm doing my forecast, the last few slides. But I didn't send it to you because I wanted to have tonight's meeting and hoping that you guys would poke some holes in it. And I was going to adjust some of my numbers and what I was going to talk about in the forecast. So now that we've completed that, I will make some adjustments to what I had based on tonight's conversation and send it to you, maybe tonight or tomorrow.
Perfect.
Right, and I think I've said it before, but without Dan's services on the finance committee, it'd be a different finance committee. So I can't stress it enough, the effort and the information that comes and that I've been able to look at and try to understand over the years. So I obviously appreciate it as the little guy with the gavel.
But you got big shoes.
Yeah.
We all
Great.
appreciate it. Great.
Okay.
All right,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Thank
I
you.
guess the meeting is adjourned at 7:55. We started at 7:01.
Yep.
Right.
And Don motioned adjournment, Dan seconded, and everybody said aye.
Mhm.
Go Celtics.
I'll do minutes for you, Dan.
Okay. Oh, speaking of minutes, Jim, did you ever put together minutes for your subcommittee meetings with the school committee's subcommittee on finance? Did you guys ever take minutes?
We have not, and we haven't in a number of years.
Are we going to get in trouble?
Well, I think Doug Lyons' team has minutes for it's a finance and your subcommittee meeting minutes, Dan, that Doug Lyons that we attend.
I believe that there are, I don't know how accurate, I don't want to say accurate.
Yeah.
I'm sure that the minutes are there to summarize the meetings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just don't alert Dan Lieber, all right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
now
and I think the message is if we.
this is all recorded, guys.
Doug and I have talked about doing things possibly differently going forward. So it is no doubt, if we hold our own individual meetings, Dan, I'd be expecting minutes and so forth. Yes.
Yeah, it just came up in someone's conversation and said, have you seen minutes from the school subcommittee? I go, no.
And for the record, I'm not the chair. I'm just the guy that drags the chair along for that. So, but point taken.
All right.
All right, guys.
And Steve, I'll call you later on the meeting for Thursday, but that's a suit and tie and WACTV or what?
Yep, suit and tie or sports coat and no tie. It's fine.
Yeah.
Or no tie and a sport, whatever you want. And that's a
Yeah, but
WC.
we're going, that's where it is. I misrepresented it. I thought it was at your office pre-town meeting thing. It's not. Got it.
Oh, no, we do have a pre-town meeting meeting as well.
You do?
Same day.
That's at 4. But that's just the logistics for Billy Carroll who comes up and
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
and I give Billy a script and he still doesn't follow it. So
That's it. Right, folks.
So what day are we doing the WCAT? Oh, here it is, Thursday, 11th.
Thursday at 7. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got it. I did talk to Bill Carroll about my, pre-town meeting little
Yep.
session to reduce size, and he said, absolutely, we're doing it. So I'll do a skinny version for town meeting.
Okay. And then we need to fly through. I think we want this in one night, hopefully, if we're lucky.
Ooh.
Well, there'll
Ooh.
be a consent agenda for a lot of them. So
Oh, that's true. That
Right.
helps. Yep. Okay, great.
Okay.
Everybody
Thanks
have
for
a good
joining,
evening.
Doug.
Yep. Go Celtics.
go Celts. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you,
Yeah, guys.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Bye, Sully.
Yep, we'll see you guys.